Hey, what's up everyone? Omega Killer 44 here, coming to you from the amazing world of Top 10. We're diving deep into the mysterious and legendary Alcatraz Island, known for its notorious prison and daring escape attempts. There's so much more to this infamous rock than meets the eye. Buckle up, because here are 10 things you didn't realize about Alcatraz that will blow your mind. Alcatraz, the infamous former prison, is located just over a mile from San Francisco, in the middle of San Francisco Bay. Originally recognized in the mid-19th century as a strategic point, it first served as a lighthouse and military fortification. Its isolated location soon led to its use as a military prison. In 1934, amid the Great Depression, it became Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, a maximum security prison known for its tiny cells, iron bars, and the bay's harsh waters, making escape nearly impossible. For nearly 30 years, it was the most feared prison in the U.S. before closing in 1963. Today, it stands as a popular tourist attraction. Yet, beyond its notorious reputation, Alcatraz holds many stories that few know. In this list, we'll explore 10 intriguing facts about the rock that might surprise you. Starting off with number 10, what's in a name? Many people don't know that Alcatraz got its name from pelicans. Before the Americans settled the San Francisco Bay Area, the island was home to a large colony of brown pelicans. In 1775, Spanish naval officer Juan Manuel de Ayala became the first European to explore the area. When he saw the pelican-covered island, he named it La Isle de los Alcatrazes, meaning Island of the Pelicans. The name stuck even as the Spanish influence faded and the Americans took over, eventually being shortened to Alcatraz. Today, the island is mostly home to seagulls and cormorants, but the iconic name remains. Number 9, military moves. The California gold rush of the 1840s brought a surge of people to the San Francisco Bay Area, transforming it into a bustling hub. With the growing population and increased military presence, the U.S. government established military facilities around San Francisco, including a prison on Alcatraz by the mid-1850s to house deserters and troublemakers. During the Civil War, it also held Confederate sympathizers. After the war, the prison was used to detain Native American activists involving in land disputes, and later, American deserters from the Spanish-American War and Chinese civilians from the Boxer Rebellion. Alcatraz was a site of incarceration well before becoming a notorious federal prison. Coming in at number 8, Lighthouse Lookouts 2. Due to its strategic location in the middle of San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz was a natural choice for a lighthouse. The first lighthouse was on the West Coast, was built there in 1854, serving ships navigating the bay for over 50 years, even as the island became a military prison. However, in the early 1900s, the construction of a new prison block obstructed the lighthouse's view, rendering it obsolete. For several years, there was no lighthouse on Alcatraz, forcing ships to rely on other landmarks. In 1909, a taller lighthouse was built to restore the island's crucial role in guiding ships safely through the bay. Number 7, nobody escaped? When Alcatraz became a federal penitentiary in 1934, it was deemed inescapable, but that didn't stop inmates from trying. Though a few dozen prisoners attempted to escape over the years, most were caught, shot, or drowned. Officially, no one ever successfully escaped from Alcatraz. The most famous escape attempt happened in 1962, when Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Algan used sharpened spoons to dig through their cell walls. They set up decoys in their beds and swam into the treacherous waters of San Francisco Bay. While their possessions were later found washed ashore, the men were never seen again, leading most to believe they drowned. However, conspiracy theorists persist, suggesting at least one of them might have survived. Number 6, but it was technically possible. While the 1962 escapes attempt by Frank Morris and the Algan brothers is the most famous, it wasn't the furthest any inmate got from Alcatraz. That distinction belongs to John Paul Scott, a career criminal who attempted his own escape in December of 1962. Alongside another inmate, Darrell Parker, Scott escaped during kitchen duty by bending window bars and climbing down to the rocky edges of the island. Parker unfortunately broke his ankle and was quickly recaptured on a nearby rock. However, Scott managed to swim across the treacherous waters of San Francisco Bay using makeshift inflatable gloves. He made it to the shore near the Golden Gate Bridge, but by then he was barely conscious and suffering from hypothermia. Teenagers found him and he was soon arrested. Though he didn't succeed in escaping permanently, Scott's swim demonstrated that it was possible to cross the bay from Alcatraz, a feat now proven annually in the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon. Number 5. Controversial criminal concerns. Alcatraz was reserved for the most troublesome inmates, not necessarily because they committed the worst crimes, but because they were the highest escape risks. Men like Frank Morris, the Allegan brothers, John Paul Scott, and many others ended up on Alcatraz after multiple failed stints at other federal prisons across the country, including Leavenworth, Kansas, and major facilities in Florida and Atlanta. Alcatraz was designed to be the end of the line for these escape-prone prisoners, with its isolated, rocky environment serving as a deterrent. The message was clear. Alcatraz was where inmates were sent when they could no longer be contained elsewhere, making escape attempts nearly impossible, though, as Scott's story showed, not entirely unthinkable. Number 4. Everybody wanted in. While Alcatraz was notorious for housing the most dangerous and escape-prone inmates, it was surprisingly sought after by prisoners from other federal facilities. Contrary to its harsh reputation, Alcatraz offered a certain perk that made it a less difficult place to serve time. One of the main benefits was the one-man-per-cell policy. Though the cells were small, having a cell to oneself meant inmates could relax without fearing attacks from others, a rare luxury in prison life. Additionally, the first warden, James A. Johnston, believed good food reduced unrest. He ensured inmates were served quality meals and even allowed them to have seconds and thirds, which kept them content and reduced the likelihood of riots. The prison also offered a well-stocked library with thousands of books and popular magazines, providing intellectual and recreational activities. These amenities, solitary cells for safety, good food, and access to books made Alcatraz a surprisingly appealing option compared to other brutal federal prisons at the time. Number 3. Rockin' with Capone. Among the first inmates transferred to Alcatraz was the notorious gangster Al Capone. Less than a year after the prison was established as a federal penitentiary, Capone was moved from USP Atlanta, where he had been serving a sentence for tax evasion. The transfer was meant to make a statement that Alcatraz was where the most dangerous criminals would be sent, especially since Capone had repeatedly been bribing guards for preferential treatment in Atlanta. Capone's time on Alcatraz was notably tough, as he later admitted saying, "It looks like Alcatraz has got me licked." However, he eventually became more docile and cooperative. His good behavior earned him a spot in the prison's inmate band, where he played the banjo during Sunday concerts for other prisoners. Today, rumors persist that Capone's ghost still haunts Alcatraz, banjo in hand, continuing to roam the halls of the infamous prison. Number 2, Birdman Blues. Robert Stroud, famously known as the Birdman of Alcatraz, never actually had any birds on Alcatraz. Stroud's reputation as a bird expert was earned during his time at Leavenworth Prison, where he raised and studied birds in solitary confinement after being sentenced to life for killing a prison guard. He became renowned for his knowledge of avian behavior and even wrote 2 books on raising canaries. However, in 1931, Stroud was ordered to give up his birds, and by that time he was transferred to Alcatraz in 1942. He was prohibited from having any contact with birds. The nickname Birdman persisted, but this time on the Rock did not involve any bird-raising activities. The portrayal of Stroud in the 1962 film Birdman of Alcatraz, starring Burt Lancaster, was dramatized and did not reflect his actual experience on Alcatraz. And number 1, activist occupation. After Alcatraz was closed in 1963, it remained unused for nearly 6 years until November of 1969, when a group of around 100 Native American activists took over the island. Led by Mohawk Richard Oakes, the group claimed Alcatraz based on an 1868 treaty that granted Native Americans access to unoccupied federal land. They argued that since the island had been abandoned, it was fair game for reclamation. The activists aimed to establish a Native American-led university and cultural center on the island, and humorously offered to purchase it for $24 in glass beads and red cloth, echoing the legendary price Dutch settlers paid for Manhattan in 1626. This symbolic offer attracted significant attention to their cause. Federal negotiations with the protesters continued for 2 years, and by June of 1971, the island was cleared of activists. While some graffiti from the protest remains, little else was changed on the island, which had already been in despair before the occupation. And there you have it, 10 things you didn't realize about Alcatraz. From its origins as a pelican haven to its infamous status as a prison, and even its surprising occupation by Native American activists, The Rock has a rich and varied history beyond the bars and walls you might have imagined. If you enjoyed uncovering these lesser-known facts about Alcatraz, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more intriguing stories and insights. Got any more Alcatraz tidbits or other historical mysteries you'd liked us to explore? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video. This is Omega Killer 44 signing off from the amazing world of Top 10.